Welcome to module number 11, and as I told you in my announcement, I revised the module and I'm going to embed also the idea of web development, and that will include the idea that in the end of data encoding, I'm going to talk how we're going to scrape data from the web. I'm going to talk about what Python gives us in order for us to develop web development, which is a little bit more complex subject, but I will try my best to cover it. So the main attention to this chapter is remaining the data process, but it is a little bit different from what I presented in module number 2. In this in module number 2, I just introduced the idea. In this module, I'm going to talk about what do we actually do when we have example CVS file or example Excel file that we want to take the data out of it in order for the Python to analyze the content of that file. So we are going to see that, and we are going to apply what Python needs to have in order for it to accept the Excel. And we're going to talk also about web development using Python. And again, my hope is it will make more sense. So let's start. And we talked about in the beginning, we talked about CVS, the basic file format, and it is basically a text file that we are able to do. So the structure of the file is giving its name, and usually we are looking what is the structured data. So we have a CVS reader, and we are going to say CVS file. We have a down act, which is the Excel, and we have the idea of FMT premise in order for you to overcome the existing format that the file consists of. So the idea here is import the CVS, and with open example CVS, I'm not going to lay out the new line, and I'm going to say as a file. And I'm going to say to Python reader, and I'm going to say the name of the file, which I highlight in pink. So from a row in a reader, I can delegate the idea that the Python will read only the row that I want it to read, but I need to name it in order for me to succeed. And then in the end, print row, and it will do that. In the idea of writer, we can apply the idea that we can add to the file itself. And by doing that, I'm going to use the CVS file, the elect option, and I'm going to use the FMT pum in order for me to override the existing format file. So it will look something like that. Import CVS with the opening is same as file as I use. You can create your own file, doesn't matter to me, or download it from the web. And you're going to say reader, and I'm going to say what file and what is the dimensions that I want Python to read it. And I'm going to say I want the quote, and by using it, I will be able to apply as a reader. So now I can also create a new table inside this file. So T is new table, and it create a new table with the default numbers of rows and columns, and print T will print what will come out of it. And when we say T equal new table, my table 5 and 3, it will create a new table with 5 rows and 3 columns. And again, it's up to you to decide how the number of rows and columns, and I would recommend you to play with that. Setting and reading cells, and again, this is how we will do that. T dot cells, columns and rows, and you will see the idea what it stands for and how to apply to it. So in this case, school.cvs, and I will say what it is consists by reading the file and applying it. CVS file represent a tuple, and the idea of it, we talked about that in module number 2, number 3, and number 4, and we can again using it in order for us to do that. And the header, we can apply the header as another component for us to read the file itself. And in a row in G, we can also apply what is the getting process in order for us to see it. Another alternative way to read and put data in sequence of directories, as we talked in module number 3 and 4, the code will be the same as import the file itself, with the idea of from row in G underscore the CVS file, and we can process the data in a row. Other modules can be used with the CVS file or write row, reader, and split. And those are the options. This is really important that I want you to have it in your back of your mind, because what happened is that maybe right now it's not important, but in the future you will have a project that you will need to analyze CVS file. This is a good foundation, so it will give you more a ground to apply and analyze the data. Reading and writing the CVS data notes how each piece of data is separate by a comma, and this is a very important thing that you have to remember. So naturally, the first line identifies each piece of data, in other words, the name of the data column. So every subsequent line after the actual data is limited only by the file size container. So in general, the separate character is the idea of a comma. It's not only one use. So we can use a column, we can use a semicolon, and the idea of how we read the CVS file is generally require us to use this container that is being used. So the code itself, again, the code is laid out for you, so you'll be able to play with that, be able to take it to your own Python environment to test, to see it. However, as anything else, we have problems that we need to recognize and address. The access certain fields might need to use the indexing, which is such as row 0 or the row 0. So that have a little bit, Python needs to be adjusted to it, and your job is to recognize that indexing help the Python to read the files better. So the idea here is that you're going to say the CVS reader and the headings, and now the row, and you're going to do named the tuple in order for you to address those issues. Other issues that write row and reader and split are also common problems that we are facing. I hope you will not face it, but if you do, look for those contexts with regard to problems in reading. One of the things that was really important that our textbook do not address is the issue of Excel file. Excel file convert in comparison to CVS file is a little bit more complex. Why? Because Microsoft added a lot of data mining into Excel in order for it to be more accurate, and that can cause problem to Python, and especially the Python, the idea of what you will do. So in order for the Python to read Excel, it has to be import CVS, it has to read to import some form of XML. It is called XLRD, and it has to import the sys in order for it to do that. I like you to follow up Bill Haidt GitHub repository on the subject and show that he lay out for you step by step how to use the Excel in order for you to do that. So it is a little bit more complex. I know it has a lot of codes in it, but the definition, the accelerator of the CVS, Excel file based path, and the workbook is part of the Excel structure that needs to be open with the idea of the XML. In Python language, it is XLRD, and the idea of the sheet and the idea of processing and the idea of what it is. So I recommend you just open the PowerPoint, copy this code, or go to the reference in GitHub and be able to apply to it and see how he had done that in order for you to succeed in opening Excel file in Python. Next, with regard to the formats, one of the things that is often used in web environment is the idea that is JavaScript object notation, which is the idea that in JavaScript, we have the ability to store data in order for it to pass to the server, in order for us to pass to the user, or to pass it to any other object that is calling for. It's called JSON. And so the idea here is that JSON is built on two structures. One is a collecting of name value of pairs, and the other one is order list of values. In most languages, it's realized as array, vector, list, or sequence. And this is really important because one of the things that is really important when we are going to start talking in the next subject in this module, we are going to talk about scraping web pages. One of the things that it will ask you to do is recognize the JSON, the JavaScript object notion of the file itself in order for you to pull it, because many of the website or many of the website pages are based on JavaScript, and as a result we need to learn how to apply the JSON in order for you to read and analyze using the Python. So the JSON module on Python provides an easy way to encode and decode data. And so it has two major functions, dumps and loads. And the idea here is, for example, import JSON, import the type of data, import the name of the file itself, the name, the number, or the price. And we will see that how we apply the scraping of the website. How do we do that in order for us to apply? So the string to feed the Python data structure is also part of the idea of the Python. If you're working with file instead of string, you can use the JSON.load in order, or JSON.dump in order for you to work as a string, and it encoding basic types of none, bool, incent, flat, or string, but also directories and even indexing to contain those files. So those are the things that is really important when we are reading JavaScript data set structure. The format of the JSON encoding is almost similar to the Python syntax, except a few minor changes. For example, true is mapping to true, and false is mapping as false. Similar, none is mapping for no. Okay, so this is the basic, and I will give you will have on Canvas more in depth about the JSON. But now, one of the things that I've been asked again and again by you, as many of the students in the class asked, about scraping data from a website. So the idea of it is a little bit more complex, and there's books on the subject. I use my notes, and this is really nice notation, how to web scrape with Python in 4 minutes. And Julie co-wrote it, and it's really easy and really understood how to do that. She took the data from MTA, which is the public transportation in New York, and apply it and try to explain how to apply it and to develop it into R. I use that same notation as she does, and enable us to develop it. Other files and other presentation is a little bit more complex. I will try to give you overhead or overview of the subject. I would like you to follow Julie No representation and apply it yourself, so you will have a stronger understanding. But before we will begin, I will use the Greg list or Robert's text in this example. So you can download it from Greg list, and it will show user agent applied to all robots, and disallow, which is directories that are prohibited for us to enter or to see. So the scraping is data extraction from the website has the ability, the idea of you can take the data and, example, import the country name or the keywords or directory in order for you to apply or to extract the data from it. So we are not technically doing any data development today, but we are going to create a script that can call our website and use this information. So the idea is, let's write basic code to get started. And we are going to get info from our website, and we are going to do some search, utilizing search terms in order for us to do that. Other recommendation is usually trying to understand the structure of the web page based on the HTML or the JavaScript that the HTML contain. And by doing that, it is a little bit more complex. So the first thing that I want to show you is the idea of we are looking for a country or keywords. So in this case, I defined it, and it will give me the following pages. And the idea is that in this case, it's div class. As I said, it is JavaScript object data container. And it is the idea, it contains the world, the name of Afghanistan, Argentina, and so on. And it will give us the idea to respond. So the scraping is the idea of search item, provide its information from a drop-by list. We can also navigate to a corresponding page and pull the information of the country. So in this case, you might have a lot of error. This is one of the things that I'm really afraid, and that's why I use the script that Julie used, which is very simple and very straightforward. And if you are looking for more advanced, you will need to do more coding in order for you to understand what it is. But the basic or the 4 minutes drill that she does actually works quite well. So the Facebook scraper, I wrote the idea of code in Python, and it is the idea what it is in import, request, and the idea of the URL embedded inside the code and the keywords, what I'm looking for, the keywords, I need to look at the page itself in order for me to do that. You cannot run this code empty, because otherwise he will not understand, Python will not understand what you're looking for. And so you need to have a URL, you need to have a keywords, and you need to do that when you are searching on the web using your browser in order for you to do that. So definition of the search, main page, request get, and the keywords that you are looking for. If we are going back to the Greg list item, to search for a country name, we will need to know a little bit more about the source, and that's where we are going to see the source of the page. I know this is not a HTML, it's not a web technology class. We will have one in the summer, but now I'm going to give you just the overview in order for you to do that. There is a lot of resources I will point out in my Canvas posting on other platforms to do that, and this is part of where to do that and how to scrape the data out of it. So the scraping, how it entail, what does it entail, and the idea what is a regular expression here to describe the data path in that, or pattern in that. So this is what is the keywords plus R, which is where the class category of the data is being applied, and it is dot plus question mark in order for me to apply, in order for me to get into the JavaScript object that is store the data in order for me to do that. And the scraping itself as a group, and scraping of the what is it entail and how to specify specific keywords into our search in order for us to be more successful into presenting this data scraping into Python. Okay, so now my PowerPoint ends, and this is something to do that. There is a hands-on web scraping in Python from the library. You will copy this address and now also post it on Canvas, so you will be able to do that, and it is worth a while to do that. Okay, second issue, web development. And one of the things that most of you ask me, or many of the students ask me, is about Python and web development. Web frameworks are collected of pages or modules which allow developer to write web application with a minimal attention paid to the lower level details such as protocol, socket, and process management. So the common operator implemented by web framework is usually URL, rotating, output format template, database manipulation, and basic security. Web frameworks in Python usually has a number of options, but the most popular one is Django and Flask. I will focus my attention to Flask because where this is my experience has been, and it is usually you can get started quite easily, and it's getting much faster. So it is built-in functionality, and it is also a popular option if the Django does not work so well, because it's a little bit more complex. So I will focus, as I said, I do apologize. If I had more time, I probably would also talk about Django, but I will not do that. So the idea of Flask, it is server-side web microframe for Python, very small, but it is well documented, and it runs on Python 2.6, 2.7, and 3.3. It also has dependencies, which means that you can have the idea of other libraries employed into this environment in order for you to support for example, GUI or WSGI support, and ability to build template so all your pages basically will look the same. The main feature of Flask is the idea of dispatcher, template engine, and secure cookies user session. So the unit testing and the idea of developer web server and the idea that you are able to do a web server out of Python, and the idea of debugging on Reloader is part of it. What is missing in this environment is a direct access to database such as MySQL, such as other application. So this is something that need validation in order for it to work. One of the other missing features in that environment is user authentication and example email support. And this is something that is really important, but again, if we had more time, I probably will show you more features out of it. And caching administration, and this is part of it. My PowerPoint went black here, so I do apologize, but I will fix it so you will be able to see it. What is the extendable things that this platform provides? It is designed to extend with the third-party packages. Usually, regular Python can be used directly, which is a good thing. So when you write your own library, you will have the ability to do that on the website using the Python as your server. The extensions are really easy to use and to integrate, which is something that is not a very simple thing to do when your website is not Python. As a modular, it is just install the package and the extension you need and nothing more. You are the developers in stack, has no craft in it, so this is something that I see as a positive thing. Some people think is a negative. So the installation, as we did many times before, especially with the visualization in the Linux, in the user. If you need more information, I gave you more about that. The Flex application, this is how to apply that and how to name it and how to define the routines and how to view functions and to start developing the web server. So in this case, this is say hello and you're going to run and it will give you an address. In this one, running on HTTP 127.0.0.1, and it will give us the host local host 5000, and it will present that. Dynamic routines that you can apply. We can say hello, and I can say defined name, and he will say with the define of names hello with the dollar with percentage s. It will give me my name on it, so it will give me hello and it will also show my name. I did not give my name, so he will not apply the name into it. The templates, again, it's part of where you're going to sort your server. So you're going to create a template folder, which is the indexing HTML. And in this case, I apply name, and the template structure will consist of the method, and it will separate the presentation from the logic by creating a template based on HTML inside the inside of it. Example, traveler companion, and it will be block percentage block content and embedded and block in that content, so you can bring it other content from other places, and this is done really nice in JavaScript. And by doing the template, you can use a library, the two templates allowed you to do a lot of more than just write HTML. We can write extensions of the HTML, and by doing that, you can pass the idea of the template into it. So every page that you will have on your website will have impresses control statement if for block and if and the block content to identify a portion of the HTML, which is quite cool, and this is quite powerful. So the template, again, this is where the block comes into, and the idea of me not paying attention to the colors, you will see that now the template is called base HTML. It will have basic elements which include the inside notation to the template, and allowed us to extend the template or the content that we are displaying. So those are the things that drive it. It add more content to your website and had the template inside of the engine of the template inside every single page. I know that I'm going too fast and I'm going too harsh, but I need to a little bit more bootstrap in order for me to show you the power of the Flax application to the web hosting. And the idea here is that you are going to create extensions of the bootstrap into the response HTML and block body content into it. So you are going to see, for example, he recognizes my name. He can highlight my name, in my case, in bold, in order for you to do that. So this is the extensions of the platform, and it can be applied, for example, in forms. In using the forms, we are able to apply what is your name. You can save it, and by using the form again and again, using how to save your name. So this is what, after invalidate, we can validate the form. And as you can see in many forms nowadays, when we apply on the web to grocery store or any other form, Python is a really good source, and this application is a really good source if you are looking for it. You can also have redirect and user session. In the past, we used to do that in JavaScript. Nowadays, we can do it Python quite easily. And again, if the time set is redirect the user to based on the time of the machine, we can use it, or if it's sunny, we will use it to the sunny session, or if it's rainy, to the rainy session, and so on. This is just an example of the applet. So again, the folders that you are going to create out of it, you're going to create text, you're going to apply it, you're going to do configuration of the website in order for you to do that, and you have a server startup and administration task in order for you to do that. Blueprints is also part of the application stored in separate package into Python. It contains any combination of static files, templates, and routine. It is useful for extensions that attach new behavior to the application, and this is the idea behind it. I know that is too fast and too much. I gave you a little more resources on that, especially the GitHub of the Flex intro is really good and it's really in-depth. You will be able to spend more time to understand that. For those who are interested in web development, I highly encourage you to do that. To the majority of you who just interested in scraping and data content, the assignment will be import CVS and Excel and scrape page. To those who want more advanced, I highly recommend to install the web server Python and trying to play with that. So that's it for now. I know it's a long session. I know sometimes it's really hard nowadays to go to the internet. Not all the time we have good connection. So I do apologize for the long lecture. I hope my lecture make more sense. If not, please ask questions. Otherwise, please stay home. Please stay safe. And until next time, have fun.